She wakes up in a hospital room, bandaged and bruised, barely alive after a car crash. Her vision is blurry. The nurse leans in and whispers. "You're lucky, Emily. Your sister didn't survive. Only, she's not Emily. She's Sophie, the quiet, overlooked twin. But everyone, doctors, police, even her sister's dangerous boyfriend, Liam, thinks she's Emily. And Sophie? She's too terrified to correct them. Because Emily's world wasn't just glamorous, it was deadly. The first thing Sophie remembered was the sound of beeping, steady, sharp, mechanical. Then the sterile scent of antiseptic. Her eyelids felt like bricks, every muscle in her body aching, her mind fogged over like a shattered mirror. When she finally opened her eyes, the room was white, clinical, humming with quiet activity. A nurse looked up from her chart and rushed to her side. "You're awake," she smiled, gentle but tearful. "Emily, thank God. You've been out for days. We were so worried." "Emily?" Sophie blinked, confused. Her throat felt like sandpaper. But her voice barely worked. The word didn't come out right. The nurse continued without noticing. "You're very lucky. You were thrown from the car. The other driver died on impact. Your sister, we're so sorry. Sophie didn't make it." The air stopped. Sophie tried to move, but everything inside her twisted. She wasn't Emily. She was Sophie. They had it wrong. Terribly, dangerously wrong. But her voice was weak, her head spinning. And somewhere, deep inside, something darker stirred, fear. Because if they believed she was Emily, then what did that mean for Emily's life? And more importantly, who did Emily leave behind? By the time Sophie was able to sit up, days had passed. Her face was bandaged, her ribs wrapped, her left arm immobilized. She stared at the mirror for the first time and barely recognized the reflection, bruised, stitched, haunted. Then the door opened, and he walked in. A man in black. Tall, broad-shouldered, with shadows under his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. His presence was immediate, magnetic, and terrifying. He didn't knock. He didn't ask. He just stood there. Then he spoke. "You scared me to death, babe." His voice was low, hoarse, almost tender. Before she could react, he crossed the room in 3 long strides and cupped her face, gently, but firmly. His fingers grazed the bandages. His dark eyes locked on hers with a kind of obsessive intensity. "I thought I lost you." Sophie froze. Her heart pounded so loud she thought the machines might catch it. He thought she was Emily. And she remembered the nurse's words, "Emily, your sister didn't make it." Sophie tried to speak, to tell him, "I'm not her." But the words never came. Because there was something dangerous in his touch. Something unspoken. Something that said, "Don't make me lose you again." So she stayed silent. And nodded. Just once. And from that moment, she was no longer Sophie. She was Emily. The hospital discharged her 2 days later. She didn't go home to her apartment, her books, or the little world she had built for herself. She was taken somewhere else, Emily's world. The apartment was nothing like she remembered. She and Emily had been close as kids, but after college, they'd drifted. Emily had chosen the high life. Sophie had chosen quiet. But this was a penthouse. Glass windows. City views. Bottles of champagne in the fridge. Expensive perfumes lined across the dresser. Designer heels. Silk bedsheets. Everything screamed luxury, but it didn't feel safe. Liam walked in behind her, his hand on her lower back. Possessive. "I brought your things from the crash," he said, setting down a bag. "Your phone. Your wallet. Everything they found in the car." Her hands trembled as she picked up the phone. It unlocked with facial recognition. Emily's face. Her face. It didn't matter anymore. She was trapped in the days that followed. Sophie slipped deeper into the lie. She wore Emily's clothes, tight, dark, bold. Nothing she'd ever wear. She answered to Emily's name. She took phone calls from people she didn't know, faking smiles and vague responses. But beneath the surface, she was spiraling. She kept finding strange things. A drawer filled with cash, banded, unmarked, thousands in different currencies. A safe behind a painting. Locked. Burnt photographs in the fireplace, edges charred, but she saw her own face in one of them. And someone had scratched it out. Then there was the blood. A sweater shoved in the back of the closet. Stiff, stained dark. She touched it once and had to run to the bathroom to vomit. And Liam? He was always there. Watching her. Touching her waist. Bringing her food, gifts, wine. Acting like he was in love. And maybe he was, but with who? One night, as they sat in the living room in silence, he suddenly said, "You've changed." She stiffened. "You're quieter. Softer." More. He turned to her, his gaze unreadable. Real. Sophie's throat tightened. She didn't know what to say, so she faked a smile. "Maybe the crash knocked some sense into me." He laughed, but there was something behind it. Attention. Like he knew. Or at least suspected. Sophie started digging. She had to. Because she couldn't keep pretending if she didn't know what Emily was hiding. She went through Emily's emails. Most were encrypted. She found burner phones, 2 of them. One was wiped clean. The other had only 3 numbers in it. All unmarked. She didn't dare call. Then she found the journal. Tucked under a floorboard beneath the bed. The first few pages were blank. Then. "Liam is lying to me. I don't know how much longer I can do this." The next page. "He says I'm his everything. But he doesn't love people. He uses them. He's watching me. I can feel it. There are men who call. Late. Codes. Deals. I've seen the files. I think I'm in too deep." Then, a final scribbled entry. "If anything happens to me, it was Liam." Sophie stared at the page for what felt like hours. The words echoed in her head, louder than her heartbeat. So this was the truth. Emily wasn't just living in luxury. She was trying to escape. That night, Sophie couldn't sleep. She lay beside Liam in the dark, his arm draped over her waist. His breath warm against her neck. She was terrified. Terrified that she had been sleeping next to the man who might have killed her sister. And worse, terrified of how her body leaned toward him anyway. Because no matter how much her brain screamed, part of her wanted him. Wanted his protection. His obsession. His lies. Then came the text. An unknown number. "You're not her." Sophie stared at it, frozen. Another ping. "I saw you at the hospital. I know who you are." She turned off the phone, panic clawing at her chest. Someone knew. Someone was watching. And now, she was caught between 2 dangers. The man in her bed. And the stranger in the shadows. By morning, Liam was gone. A rare thing. She took the chance to explore more. Desperate. She opened Emily's emails again, digging past firewalls. Then she found a draft, unsent. A message to a man named D. "You were right. He's dangerous. I want out. I have everything on the drive. I'll bring it tomorrow. Same place. No date. No time. No details." But the word drive stood out. Sophie searched the apartment like her life depended on it. And then, hidden inside a hollowed-out book on the shelf, she found it. A USB drive. She didn't open it. Not yet. Because just then, the front door opened. Liam was back. His expression? Dark. Quiet. Intense. He walked over, kissed her forehead. But something was different. He looked at her like he had questions. And Sophie? She smiled through her fear. Because she had one too. Had Liam killed her sister? And if he hadn't? Was Emily even dead? The moment Liam stepped through the door, Sophie's fingers froze around the USB drive. She had just found it, hidden inside a hollowed-out book on Emily's shelf. The book titled Smoke and Mirrors, ironically. Appropriate. She quickly shoved the drive into her pocket before turning to face him. He looked tired. Suit jacket half-buttoned, jaw tense, a faint bruise on his knuckle. He hadn't shaved. The tie around his neck was loose, like he'd been pulling at it in frustration or rage. He stood there, framed in the doorway, eyes scanning her. Not just looking, studying. Something in his expression made her blood run cold. You didn't answer my calls, he said calmly, too calmly. She forced a smile. I was in the shower. Liam stared at her a beat longer. Then his expression softened into something that looked like concern, but Sophie didn't trust it. She couldn't trust anything anymore. I worried something happened. You've been distant. He stepped closer. Not like you. Her heart thudded in her ears. He was getting suspicious. And she was running out of time. That night, she barely slept. Liam was beside her in bed, his arm draped over her waist like a lock. His breathing was calm, rhythmic. But Sophie stayed still, her mind racing. In the dark, she kept thinking about the text. You're not her. Who sent it? What did they know? And why hadn't they said more? She had the USB. She hadn't looked inside it yet, terrified of what she'd find. She needed help. But who could she trust? Not Liam. Not the cops, they thought she was Emily. Not Emily's friends, none had visited. Not even one. She was on her own. Until the next text came 8:12 a.m. Another message. I know you found it. Meet me at the cafe across from St. Francis Park. Come alone. She read it 3 times. Whoever it was, they knew about the USB. Her hand shook as she slipped it into her purse, quietly got dressed, and tiptoed out before Liam woke up. The cafe was small, tucked into a quiet corner across from the park. A bell rang as she walked in. The scent of coffee and cinnamon filled the air. Normal. Peaceful. Too peaceful. She spotted a man in a navy hoodie sitting at the far end, facing the window. As she approached, he turned slightly, and her heart stopped. It was Daniel. Emily's ex. He looked rough. Thinner than she remembered. Stubble on his face. Eyes bloodshot. Like he hadn't slept in days, or maybe weeks. He looked at her like she was a ghost. Emily? She almost said no. Almost corrected him. But she caught herself. If she told him the truth and he ran to Liam, she could end up like her sister. So instead, she sat down and whispered, "Hi." He leaned forward, his voice low. You're not her. Sophie froze. He stared at her. I knew the second I saw you. The way you walk. The way you hold your hands. Emily never drank black coffee. He gestured toward the cup in her hand. She hadn't even noticed what she ordered. Her autopilot betrayed her. You're Sophie, aren't you? She didn't answer. Didn't nod. But she didn't deny it either. Daniel looked around cautiously. Then he slid a small envelope across the table. Emily was going to meet me the night of the crash. She had proof. Said Liam was using her to move something big, cash, crypto, maybe weapons. I don't know. But she wanted out. She was scared. Sophie's hand shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a photo. It showed Emily, days before the crash, meeting with a man in a dark alley. A timestamp on the back. There was a second photo, too. One that nearly made Sophie drop the envelope. It was her. From yesterday. In her building's hallway. Someone had taken her picture. Followed her. Daniel leaned in. Someone knows you're not Emily. I don't think Liam's figured it out yet. But someone else has. And they're watching you. Back at the penthouse, Sophie was quiet. The walls felt closer now. The air heavier. She avoided Liam, pretending to nap. When she was alone, she finally plugged the USB into Emily's laptop. Hundreds of files. Emails. Audio recordings. Spreadsheets. Bank logs. Names. Codes. It was a web, Liam's empire, exposed. Emily had been building a case. There was even a voice memo. Emily, whispering. If you're hearing this. I'm probably gone. I stayed too long. He said he loved me, but love doesn't come with cages. He doesn't let people leave. Sophie sat frozen, tears running down her face. Sophie, if you're alive and you find this, run. Please. Don't trust anyone. Not even Daniel. Don't let him pull you into this too. The apartment door slammed. Liam was back. Sophie yanked the drive out and shoved it under a stack of magazines. Her hands were shaking. He walked into the room with a bottle of wine, smiling, but there was something off about it. You went out today, he said, casual. Sophie tried to keep her voice even. Just needed some air. He nodded, pouring a glass. Then, very softly. Funny. You didn't take your phone. Her stomach dropped. I called. Twice. He looked at her, his eyes unreadable. No answer. Sophie swallowed. I left it charging. I didn't even notice. He stepped closer. Too close. You sure that's all you were doing? She forced a shaky laugh. You're acting like I snuck off to meet someone. He didn't laugh back. Just stared. Then slowly handed her the wine. To second chances, he said, raising his glass. She clinked hers against his, but her hand trembled so badly she nearly spilled it. That night, she hid the USB in a safer place. Inside the bathroom wall vent, wrapped in plastic and taped behind the grate. She didn't sleep. Because now it was clear, Liam was watching her more closely. And whoever took that photo? They were getting closer too. Sophie was caught in a trap. A web of lies, danger, and secrets she didn't understand. She needed a plan. But plans required time. And she was running out of it. For the first time since the crash, Sophie stood in front of the mirror and truly looked at herself. She no longer recognized the girl staring back. Long black silk robe. Painted nails. A diamond choker she never would have dared to wear before. Her bruises were fading, but something else had taken root in their place, a hollowness in her chest, like the real her had vanished, buried beneath layers of lies and silk. She was living Emily's life. Sleeping in her bed. Wearing her perfume. Being touched by her boyfriend. And the worst part? A part of her liked it. Liam had changed. Not suddenly, not drastically, but enough to notice. The cold edge in his voice had softened. The way he looked at her now, with confusion, yes, but also, warmth. Curiosity. Even something resembling admiration. He started talking more. Opening up. Letting cracks form in his wall of control. That morning, he sat across from her at the kitchen island, pouring black coffee, for both of them. You hated this stuff, he said with a smirk. Sophie paused. People change. He tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing with thought. Then a soft, almost amused smile. Yeah, you have. It was the first time he'd said it so plainly. Like he knew. Like he didn't care. The truth was, Sophie didn't know what she was doing anymore. Every night, she promised herself she'd run. Every morning, she stayed. The tension between them wasn't just fear now, it was fire. Every glance, every touch, felt like it lived on the edge of something dangerous. One night, it finally snapped. They had just returned from a party Liam insisted she attend. Wealthy strangers. Expensive liquor. Flashes of cameras and fake smiles. Liam was all charm and dominance, and Sophie played her part like a professional actress. But the moment the door shut behind them, the mask dropped. He backed her up against the wall with a look in his eyes that left her breathless. "You were perfect tonight," he whispered, voice low, intense. She could feel her pulse racing beneath her skin. "You're not her," he said. Her heart stopped. "You're not Emily. I've known for weeks." She gasped, but his hand covered her mouth gently. "Shoo," he said. "Don't panic. I don't want her back. I want you." Her body stiffened, with fear, with disbelief, but also something darker. Something undeniable. He leaned in closer, mouth at her ear. "I should be furious. But I'm not. You're better than she ever was." Sophie stared into his eyes, trying to see the lie, the trap, the poison. But all she saw was truth. And that terrified her more than anything else. That night, for the first time, she didn't fight the pull. They didn't just kiss. They fell into something brutal, breathless, full of pain and longing. And as she lay beside him afterward, heart thudding against his chest, she wondered. Was she falling in love with her sister's killer? Or had Liam really not known what Emily was planning? The next morning, she woke to find him gone again. A single note on the pillow. "Don't open the door. Stay inside. I'll handle it. L." Something was wrong. She turned on the news. A local bar had been firebombed. 2 injured. 1 dead. Police believed it was gang-related. She recognized the name. It was one of the locations listed in Emily's files. Liam's people. The timing wasn't a coincidence. Someone was cleaning up loose ends. And Sophie had the biggest loose end in her possession, the USB drive. Liam had changed. Not suddenly, not drastically, but enough to notice. The cold edge in his voice had softened. The way he looked at her now, with confusion, yes, but also warmth. Curiosity. Even something resembling admiration. He started talking more. Opening up. Letting cracks form in his wall of control. That morning, he sat across from her at the kitchen island, pouring black coffee, for both of them. "You hated this stuff," he said with a smirk. Sophie paused. "People change." He tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing with thought. Then a soft, almost amused smile. "Yeah, you have." It was the first time he'd said it so plainly. Like he knew. Like he didn't care. The truth was, Sophie didn't know what she was doing anymore. Every night, she promised herself she'd run. Every morning, she stayed. The tension between them wasn't just fear now, it was fire. Every glance, every touch, felt like it lived on the edge of something dangerous. One night, it finally snapped. They had just returned from a party Liam insisted she attend. Wealthy strangers. Expensive liquor. Flashes of cameras and fake smiles. Liam was all charm and dominance, and Sophie played her part like a professional actress. But the moment the door shut behind them, the mask dropped. He backed her up against the wall with a look in his eyes that left her breathless. "You were perfect tonight," he whispered, voice low, intense. She could feel her pulse racing beneath her skin. "You're not her," he said. Her heart stopped. "You're not Emily. I've known for weeks." She gasped, but his hand covered her mouth gently. "Shoo," he said. "Don't panic. I don't want her back. I want you. Her body stiffened, with fear, with disbelief, but also something darker. Something undeniable. He leaned in closer, mouth at her ear. I should be furious. But I'm not. You're better than she ever was. Sophie stared into his eyes, trying to see the lie, the trap, the poison. But all she saw was truth. And that terrified her more than anything else. That night, for the first time, she didn't fight the pull. They didn't just kiss. They fell into something brutal, breathless, full of pain and longing. And as she lay beside him afterward, heart thudding against his chest, she wondered. Was she falling in love with her sister's killer? Or had Liam really not known what Emily was planning? The next morning, she woke to find him gone again. A single note on the pillow. Don't open the door. Stay inside. I'll handle it. L. Something was wrong. She turned on the news. A local bar had been firebombed. 2 injured. 1 dead. Police believed it was gang-related. She recognized the name. It was one of the locations listed in Emily's files. Liam's people. The timing wasn't a coincidence. Someone was cleaning up loose ends. And Sophie had the biggest loose end in her possession, the USB drive. By noon, she received another message from the unknown number. He's lying to you. Check the folder named Solstice. You'll see. Sophie waited until she was alone, then opened the drive again. The folder was hidden deep. Encrypted. But Emily had left the password written in her journal, Mirrored Soul. Inside were surveillance photos. Email threads. Payments. Liam hadn't just been running an empire. He was involved in something darker, contracts. People paid him to make problems disappear. And Emily had been one of those problems. Sophie dropped the mouse. Her breath caught in her throat. One of the last payments had been issued 2 days before the crash. The account was untraceable. The sender anonymous. But the amount was the same one Emily had written in her journal, the price for her silence. Sophie didn't eat that day. She sat in the shower until the water turned cold, trying to feel something other than horror. All this time, she had been doubting herself. Thinking maybe she was paranoid. Maybe Liam was just broken. Maybe he didn't know. But now? Now she wasn't sure anything was real. The romance. The warmth. The confessions. They were all part of the illusion, a performance to keep her close. Quiet. Controlled. Liam returned after sunset. He looked different. Not angry, but strained. Like a man juggling fire in both hands. We need to leave the city, he said without greeting. Tonight. Sophie played dumb. Why? People are asking questions. It's not safe. She stared at him. You mean it's not safe for you? His jaw clenched. Don't start. She stepped closer. Did you love her? Silence. Then finally, not like I love you. You had her killed. No. His voice cracked. I tried to protect her. But she wouldn't stop. She was reckless. She didn't understand how deep this goes. She shook her head. You knew. I tried to warn her. But Emily wanted to burn it all down, including me. He stepped forward, touched her cheek. I thought you were her. But you're not. You're the better twin. You're the one I would have chosen if I had the chance. His eyes were raw. Not cold, not then. And God help her, she almost believed him. Almost. That night, as Liam packed, Sophie made a choice. She took the USB and a burner phone and slipped into the stairwell while he was distracted. She sent the full contents to a secure anonymous address, something Daniel had told her about in the cafe. And just like that, she crossed a line. If Liam found out, she was dead. If the police didn't move fast, they'd all be dead. She went back into the apartment like nothing had changed. But everything had. She had betrayed him. And she wasn't sure if it was revenge or heartbreak. That twisted her inside. Confused her. Made her furious. She thought she could keep up the lie. She thought pretending to be Emily was the only way to survive. But lies rot from the inside, and now, Sophie could feel the decay. The house was quiet that morning, too quiet. No footsteps. No Liam slamming doors. No distant calls or meetings. Just silence, thick like fog, pressing against her skin. Sophie sat on Emily's bed, her bed now, holding the USB drive in her trembling fingers. She hadn't dared plug it into her phone, not yet. But she could feel it. This tiny piece of plastic held everything. A truth so heavy, even silence bowed beneath it. And Liam. He had been watching her differently. Touching her differently. Not with tenderness. With possession. He wasn't just Emily's boyfriend. He was something else. Something worse. And Sophie needed answers. The message. That afternoon, she finally did it. Locked in the bathroom with the exhaust fan running to cover the clicks, she plugged the USB into the burner phone she'd found hidden behind Emily's bookshelf, taped under a drawer, as if Emily knew one day she'd need to hide something even deeper than her voice. The phone came to life with a jolt. Old texts. Deleted calls. A password-protected folder labeled, "In case I disappear." Sophie's heart stilled. Wrong password. She tried birthdays, pet names, random combinations. Nothing worked. Until she typed. Liam knew. The folder opened. Inside, photos, voice memos, a video. She played the video first. Emily's warning. It was filmed in a hurry. Emily sat against a brick wall, mascara smudged, hair wild. Her voice shook. If you're watching this, I'm probably gone. Or worse. Liam isn't who you think he is. He's not just rich, not just dangerous. He's twisted. He made me do things. I don't even know what's real anymore. Every time I tried to leave, someone got hurt. My friend, Kara? She didn't OD. That was him. He always said, if I can't have you, no one can. So if you're me, or pretending to be me, run. Get out. Burn everything. The screen froze on her face, eyes wide with fear. Then darkness. Sophie dropped the phone. Her stomach turned. She ran to the sink, vomited. She wasn't just living a lie. She was wearing a dead girl's skin. The trap. Liam returned that evening with roses. His shirt was blood-stained. Business, he muttered when Sophie stared. She forced a smile. Played the part. But inside, she screamed. He kissed her. Told her she looked beautiful. Said they should go away for a few days. Just the two of them. A private cabin. Sophie nodded, but every nerve screamed, don't go. That night, she didn't sleep. She hid the burner phone, packed a small bag with cash from Emily's drawer, and planned her escape. She'd take the first train out. Change her name. Disappear. But Liam was faster. At 4 a.m., she awoke to the click of handcuffs around her wrist. Where were you planning to go, Emily? He whispered in the dark, voice like broken glass. Her blood ran cold. He knew. The mask falls. You thought I wouldn't notice? Liam asked as he dragged her down the stairs. The way you breathe. The way you look at me. She fought him, kicked, screamed. No one came. He shoved her into a basement she hadn't known existed. Soundproof walls. Chains. This is where I broke her, he whispered. Your sister. She thought she could run, too. Tears blurred her vision. You killed her. No. You killed her. The day you took her place. He laughed bitterly. But I don't mind. You're quieter. Softer. I think I like you more. The door slammed. Locked. Darkness. Hope and shadows. Hours passed. Or days. Sophie didn't know. Her wrist bled from the cuff. Her throat was dry. And then she remembered the pendant around her neck. Emily's old necklace. Inside it, folded tight, a paper. A phone number and 3 words. If it happens. She screamed until her voice broke. Eventually, someone came. But it wasn't Liam. It was a woman. Mid-30s, sharp eyes, leather gloves. She looked Sophie up and down. You're not Emily. Sophie blinked. Couldn't answer. The woman crouched. I'm Kara's sister. Your sister told me everything. And she told me what to do if she disappeared. Sophie cried for the first time in days. Help me. The woman stood. We don't have much time. The escape. The woman returned with keys. Tools. A plan. Liam was away, handling unfinished business. They had 2 hours. Chains unlocked. Sophie ran through the halls of her sister's nightmare, every wall pulsing with memories not hers. They reached the door. Then, footsteps. Liam. I should have known, he growled, gun in hand. The woman pulled hers faster. A single shot. A scream. Sophie didn't look back. She ran. The truth. 2 weeks later, in a safe house across the country, Sophie stood in front of a mirror. Bruised. Scarred. Alive. She wasn't Emily. She never was. But now, she wasn't Sophie either. She was the girl who lived someone else's life. Who uncovered truths soaked in blood. And survived. The rain hadn't stopped since morning. It clawed against the glass windows like impatient fingers, smearing the outside world into a blur of gray. Inside the dimly lit penthouse, Sophie stood motionless, staring at her reflection in the mirror. But it wasn't her own face she saw anymore. It was Emily's. The bruises had faded. Her hair was now dyed to match her sister's shade perfectly. Even her voice, hesitant at first, had begun to echo Emily's tone. Sometimes, Sophie couldn't tell where she ended and Emily began. Behind her, Liam's footsteps echoed softly. You okay? He asked, his voice warm but guarded. He held 2 glasses of wine, setting one beside her. You've been quiet all day. She nodded slightly, eyes still locked on her reflection. Just tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of hiding. Tired of the secret pressing against her chest like a loaded gun. Because now, she knew. The past week had shattered whatever illusions she had left. The hidden folder on Emily's phone had unlocked a trail of messages, photographs, and voice notes. Emily had been planning to disappear. She had been afraid. And it wasn't just drugs or danger. It was Liam. I can't breathe around him anymore, one voice note had whispered. Emily's voice, broken and raw. He says he loves me, but it feels like a cage. I think he's watching me. All the time. The Sophie of a month ago wouldn't have believed it. But now she'd seen enough, the calls Liam made late at night, the gun he kept in a drawer, the way his mood shifted like a knife edge. He wasn't just dangerous. He was obsessed. And he thought she was Emily. Later that night, she walked into his study. The fire in the hearth cast long shadows along the wall. Liam sat behind his desk, typing something on his laptop, his shirt sleeves rolled up, a half-smile on his lips. I need to talk to you, Sophie said, closing the door behind her. He looked up. You sound serious. I am. She stepped forward, heart pounding. I need to tell you something, about Emily. The silence was immediate. Cold. Heavy. What about Emily? He said carefully. I'm not her. The words left her lips before she could stop them. She felt them echo in the room, felt the weight they carried. I'm not Emily. I'm Sophie. Her twin. She expected yelling. Rage. Violence. But Liam said nothing. He leaned back slowly in his chair, studying her. I know, he said at last. Her knees almost gave out. What? I knew the moment you looked at me in that hospital bed and didn't flinch. Sophie felt the air drain from her lungs. Then why did you let me pretend? He stood, walking around the desk, calm and composed. Because Emily ran from me. And you didn't. Sophie stepped back. You let me live her life, knowing I wasn't her? I didn't want Emily anymore, he said softly. I wanted something better. Someone who didn't lie. Someone, like you. But I was lying, she cried. I was pretending. His eyes darkened. No. You became her. And somewhere in that mess, you became mine. She shook her head, tears burning her eyes. This is sick. He stepped forward. You didn't run. You stayed. Doesn't that mean something? I stayed because I was afraid, she snapped. Afraid of what you might do if you found out. Liam's jaw clenched. You're not afraid now. No. I'm not, she said, lifting the gun she had taken from his drawer. Liam froze. I found your messages to her. The threats. The tracking apps. She didn't disappear. You made her. His face was unreadable. You don't know what you're talking about. I know she's dead. And you're going to pay for it. They stared at each other, the storm outside growing louder. Shoot me then, he said, voice like steel. But you'll never find her body. And you'll always wonder. Tears fell freely now. She was my sister. He stepped closer, unafraid. And now you're all that's left. It ended with a scream. Not Sophie's. Not Liam's. A door slammed open. Police. A female detective, Emily's friend from university, had traced the last GPS ping. She had never believed Emily just vanished. Liam was arrested. Sophie stood in the rain outside, trembling, staring at the flashing lights. Weeks later, she visited the lake. They found Emily's body beneath the dock. Weighted down. Hidden. Closure came quietly. Not with joy, but with breath. Sophie sat by the water, the wind tugging at her coat, her hand resting over her chest.